Two people can retire with the exact same amount of money and have completely different experiences. One sleeps soundly during market crashes, while the other constantly worries about running out of money. The difference isn't how much they saved, it's whether they have guaranteed income. I'm PJ Gibbs, a certified financial planner, and I help people within 10 years of retirement make confident income, tax, and investment decisions so they can retire without guessing. In this video, I'm going to show you how guaranteed income, like Social Security, pensions, and annuities, fundamentally changes how you think about investing, spending, and risk in retirement. And just as importantly, I'll show you the risks that still exist even when you think you're covered. Because guaranteed income doesn't just change your cash flow, it changes how you react when markets drop, how much risk you can responsibly take, and whether you actually enjoy your retirement or you spend it second guessing every decision. If you've ever wondered whether to take a pension lump sum or monthly income, or whether an annuity actually makes sense for someone like you, stay with me. This might change how you think about your entire retirement plan. Let's start with the basics. When we talk about guaranteed income in retirement, we're really talking about three main sources: Social Security, pensions, and annuities. Social Security is the foundation for most Americans. As of January 2026, the average Social Security retirement benefit is about $2,000 per month. That's after a 2.8% cost of living adjustment. Now that might not sound like a fortune, but here's what makes it powerful. It's guaranteed for life. It adjusts for inflation every year and doesn't depend on how the stock market performs. Pensions are the traditional defined benefit plans that used to be much more common. If you worked for a large corporation or in the public sector, you might have one. These plans promise you a specific monthly payment for life, usually based on years of service and your salary. The key feature here is that the employer bears the investment risk, not you. Annuities are essentially a way to create your own pension. You give an insurance company a lump sum of money, and they promise to pay you a specific amount each month for the rest of your life. There are many types of annuities: fixed, variable, and indexed. And they've gotten a bad reputation over the years because of high fees and pushy sales tactics. But the basic concept of converting a pile of money into a guaranteed income stream, that could be valuable for the right person. Here's the key takeaway so far. Guaranteed income isn't about maximizing returns, it's about creating stability. Next, I want to show you why that stability completely changes how people behave in retirement. Here's where things get really interesting. Let's say you have two hypothetical scenarios. In scenario one, someone has $1 million in their 401k and no pension. In scenario two, someone has $600,000 in their 401k and a pension paying $2,000 per month. On paper, the first person might look wealthier, but here's what actually happens. The person with the pension typically feels more financially secure, takes on more appropriate investment risk, and actually makes better long-term decisions. Why? Because guaranteed income creates what researchers call a financial floor. When you know your basic expenses are covered by income sources that aren't affected by the stock market, you can afford to take more appropriate risks with the rest of your portfolio. Recent research from 2025 and 2026 shows that guaranteed income significantly increases retirees' risk tolerance and shifts investment behavior toward growth-oriented portfolios. This happens because it reduces longevity risk and sequence of returns risk, allowing for more equity to exposure during the retirement drawdown phase. The behavioral finance research is clear. People with stable pension income foster more confidence in spending and investing compared to those relying solely on volatile portfolio withdrawals, which heighten fears of portfolio depletion. Think about it this way. If you retire with $1 million and no guaranteed income, every market downturn feels like a threat to your lifestyle. If the market drops 30%, you're watching $300,000 of your portfolio vanish. But if you have $600,000 and know that $3,000 per month is coming in no matter what, the same market drop is less scary because your baseline needs are still covered. A 2024 study found that 91% of plan sponsors are concerned that future retirees will run out of money, and 83% estimate that more than 25% of the retirees are at risk of premature portfolio depletion without guaranteed income sources. That's a staggering number, and it highlights why this conversation is so important. Guaranteed income doesn't remove risk, it changes how you experience it. Now let me show you how that changes the way people invest once they retire. Here's where guaranteed income really starts to change the game. When you have a solid income floor, you can actually invest more aggressively with your portfolio. And that's not a bad thing. Let me explain with a hypothetical example. Let's say you need $7,000 per month to maintain your lifestyle in retirement. If you have $3,500 coming in from Social Security and a pension, your portfolio only needs to generate the other $3,500. This means you need roughly half the portfolio compared to someone who needs their entire $7,000 to come from investments. But here's the part most people miss. Because that income floor protects you from having to sell investments during a market crash, you can afford to keep more of your portfolio in stocks. Research shows that the optimal equity allocation doesn't necessarily decrease dramatically in retirement when you have guaranteed income. In fact, some recent controversial research suggests that with proper guaranteed income coverage, equity allocations can remain quite high throughout retirement without significantly increasing the risk of running out of money. This is the opposite of what many people do. Without guaranteed income, retirees often get too conservative, moving heavily into bonds and cash. But this creates a different problem. Their portfolio doesn't grow enough to keep up with inflation over a 30-year retirement. I often see people in their 50s and 60s that make over $200,000 a year who are so worried about market volatility that they sit on too much cash. They don't realize that inflation is quietly eroding their purchasing power year after year. A 2026 industry forecast shows a pivotal shift toward defined contribution plans with integrated lifetime income solutions, including hybrid target date funds and annuities, which helps retirees maintain appropriate risk levels rather than falling into the trap of excessive conservatism. This is the part most people miss. Income floors give you permission to invest appropriately, not fearfully. Next, I want to show you why this also changes how confidently people actually spend their money. This might be the most underappreciated benefit of guaranteed income. It gives you permission to actually spend your money and enjoy retirement. I've worked with hundreds of clients, and I can tell you that the ones with pension income spend more freely and enjoy retirement more than those relying entirely on portfolio withdrawals. It's not that they're reckless, it's that they have confidence. They're not constantly running mental calculations about whether they can afford to take that trip or help out their grandkids. Here's a common pattern I see. A couple with $2 million saved, they've calculated that they can safely withdraw $80,000 per year from their portfolio using a conservative withdrawal strategy. But in practice, they're terrified to spend it. They see that account balance, and every withdrawal feels like they're moving backwards. So they live on far less than they could, depriving themselves of experiences they've worked hard for their entire lives. Compare that to a couple with $1.2 million saved and $40,000 per year coming in from pensions and Social Security. They need to withdraw the same $80,000 per year, but only $40,000 is coming from their portfolio. Psychologically, this feels completely different. The guaranteed income covers their baseline needs, so the portfolio withdrawals feel like money for extra fun and extras. This behavioral difference is backed by research showing that retirees with guaranteed income streams exhibit reduced spending anxiety compared to those managing systematic portfolio withdrawals, which amplify inflation and market timing fears. When you have pension-like security, you're more likely to spend in line with your actual retirement goals rather than hoarding money out of fear. Here's the takeaway. Confidence doesn't come from a bigger balance, it comes from knowing your basics are covered. That confidence also makes several major retirement decisions much easier. So what specific decisions become easier when you have guaranteed income? Let me walk you through several. First, Social Security claiming decisions become clearer. When you have other guaranteed income sources, you have more flexibility about when to claim Social Security. If your pension is already covering your basic needs, you might choose to delay Social Security until age 70 to maximize your benefit. That larger benefit becomes like an inflation-protected insurance policy for your later years. On the other hand, if you don't have a pension, claiming Social Security at 62 might make more sense to create that income floor sooner. Second, you can be more strategic with Roth conversions. This is a big one for high earners. If you're in your 50s or early 60s and you know you'll have significant pension income starting at 65, you might want to do Roth conversions before the pension kicks in. You're converting money from your traditional IRA to a Roth IRA during those lower income years, paying tax now at a lower rate rather than later when your pension income pushes you into higher brackets. I work with a lot of families making over $200,000 currently who don't realize the tax planning opportunity this creates. Third, Investment allocation decisions become more straightforward. When you know your baseline expenses are covered by guaranteed income, you can match your portfolio to the expenses it actually needs to cover. The money you'll need in the next 5 years can be in stable investments. The money you won't touch for 10 to 15 years can be more growth oriented. This bucketing strategy works much better when you have guaranteed income supporting you. Fourth, legacy planning becomes clearer. If your lifetime expenses are largely covered by guaranteed income, your portfolio can increasingly be viewed as legacy money. Fourth, legacy planning becomes clearer. If your lifetime expenses are largely covered by guaranteed income, your portfolio can increasingly be viewed as legacy money for your heirs or charitable causes. This changes how you invest it and how you think about it. You're not dependent on it for survival, so you can take a longer term view. Recent TIAA Institute research found that integrating lifetime income options directly into retirement plans transforms retiree behavior, with adoption rates jumping from 50 to 60% when seamlessly integrated compared to less than 10% for standalone. This is exactly what the Retirement Readiness Scorecard helps uncover, where these decisions get easier and where gaps still exist. But before we talk about solutions, there are still risks you need to understand, even with guaranteed income. Let's pause for just a second, because this part matters more than most people realize. Even with guaranteed income, you're not bulletproof. There are still significant risks you need to plan for, and understanding these actually builds more trust than pretending everything is perfect. The first major risk is inflation. Yes, Social Security has a cost of living adjustment, but it doesn't always keep up with your actual expenses. Most traditional pensions don't have any inflation adjustment at all. If you retire at 65 with a $3,000 monthly pension, that same $3,000 will buy you significantly less when you're 85. At just 3%, your purchasing power gets cut in half in about 24 years. This is why you still need some growth investments, even with guaranteed income. The second risk is healthcare costs. This is a big one. Healthcare expenses tend to rise faster than general inflation, and Medicare doesn't cover everything. The standard Medicare Part B premium rose to $203 per month in 2026, up from $185 in 2025. For the average retiree, that's eating up a big chunk of the Social Security increase. If you need long-term care, your guaranteed income won't come close to covering those costs. This is why I work with clients on ensuring they have a plan for healthcare expenses that goes beyond just their guaranteed income. The third risk is sequence of returns. Even with guaranteed income, if you're still taking withdrawals from your portfolio and the market crashes early in retirement, it can significantly impact how long your money lasts. Let's say your pension covers $4,000 of your $7,000 monthly expenses. You still need $3,000 from your portfolio. If the market drops 40% in year one of retirement and you keep taking out that $3,000 per month, you're selling at shares at depressed prices. Those shares never recover because you've sold them. This is called sequence of returns risk, and guaranteed income reduces it but doesn't eliminate it entirely. The fourth risk is longevity. This is actually a weird one. Living a long life is a blessing, but it's also a financial risk. Even with guaranteed income, if you live to 95 or 100, you need to make sure your portfolio can keep supplementing that guaranteed income for potentially 35 plus years. The Center for Retirement Research found that the average retired household cuts its spending by about 1.5% every year throughout retirement, which helps, but you still need to plan for a long life. The fifth risk is the stability of the income source itself. For Social Security, there's the ongoing political question about the trust fund. The 2025 Trustees Report projects that without changes, benefits would be cut by 23% when the trust fund is depleted. For pensions, there's company solvency risk, especially if you're with a private company rather than a government entity. And for annuities, there's insurance company credit risk. Though this is generally low for highly rated carriers, and state guarantee associations do provide some protection. Here's the big picture. Guaranteed income reduces risk, it doesn't eliminate it, which is why the real goal isn't just income, it's coordination. Look, guaranteed income is powerful, but it's just one piece of a complete retirement plan. The real key is understanding how all the pieces fit together. Your Social Security strategy, your investment allocation, your tax planning, and your income sources. If you're within 10 years of retirement and you're trying to figure out how to put all of this together, that's exactly what we help people do at Trello Wealth. We help families and retirees simplify financial complexity with personalized planning and disciplined investment management. so they can move into retirement with clarity, confidence, and peace of mind. I've put together a retirement readiness scorecard that walks you through the key factors you need to consider. You can access that by visiting the link in the description below. If you want to go deeper and talk about your specific situation, you can also schedule a call with me.